This is what Ben Simmons brings to an NBA team. Ben Simmons has been dominating more news articles than NBA games lately due to the back-and-forth drama in the long-going saga between him and the Philadelphia 76ers. After missing all of training camp and preseason play, Simmons eventually rejoined the team. However, he has yet to appear in a 76ers game during the 2021-2022 season. While the two sides were trying to figure out how to move forward, there's been a lot of trading rumors hitting the web about who's the one that's going to replace Simmons and where he's going to go. And finally, to little surprise, he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, replacing the long-bearded Chad, James Harden. But what does Ben Simmons bring to an NBA team? Is he good enough for teams to consider taking him on? See, Simmons puts a ton of pressure on teams in the open court. In just last season, he created over a quarter of his offense in transition, making for one of the highest rates in the league. But it was a high turnover rate of over 21%, which played a role in him ranking in only the 27th percentile with an average of 1 point per transition possession. Regardless, he was a very efficient finisher in those plays, with over 61% of them going in. The thing that really makes Simmons unique is that he's got the size of a forward but the skill set of a guard. He's standing at 6'11" with a 7-foot wingspan, which makes him a threat to grab and go. Since he's too quick for most bigs to keep up with following a missed shot, and too big for most guards to handle when he gets into the paint, he's not particularly someone defenders can't wait to face. Once he or someone else on his team secures the rebound, it's off to the races. Simmons also picks up steals and deflections in bunches. One of the best weapons in his arsenal is how he punishes teams for being careless with the ball, turning turnovers into an easy offensive play. He's also very good at generating a lot of offense for his teammates as well, especially in transition. Simmons is also a great team player. He rewards players for running the floor with him and does a beautiful job when it comes to kicking it out to three-point shooters while the defense collapses on him. Over the past 2 seasons alone, he was reportedly assisted on a total of 422 three-pointers. Only Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, and Luka Doncic have managed to create more. But it's in the half-court where Simmons runs into some issues. The biggest problem, of course, is that he's yet to develop a jump shot. Of the 325 field goals he made last season, 315 were scored in the paint. He was 7 for 21 from mid-range, and 3 for 10 from behind the arc, which are similar numbers to those he was achieving in the first 3 seasons of his career. If defenders decide to press up on Simmons, he can easily blow by them like the wind and finish strong at the rim. But if they back way off of him, it can muck up spacing for everyone else. The sad limitations impact Simmons a lot, especially at the end of games. It appears like he's got a strong tendency to gravitate towards the dunker spot when the game slows down, which usually happens in the 4th quarter. It also doesn't help that Joel Embiid, whose usage rate has skyrocketed in the clutch over the last few seasons, is a dominant paint scorer as well. Therefore, Simmons and Embiid were often fighting over the same real estate. The obvious solution to the problem would be Simmons developing into a better shooter. It would be much more difficult for defenders to hold off of him if he did, but it would also be interesting to see how he would look on a team where he's the only non-shooter and is used more as a big in the half-court. With his incredible speed, size, athleticism, and impressive vision, he's a player who should thrive as a screen setter in pick and rolls and a cutter. Oh, and not to mention, he's more than capable of attacking mismatches as well, both in the post and out on the perimeter. And don't get me wrong, he's shown flashes of all of that in Philadelphia, but it just feels like there's still so much content to be unlocked. Regardless his jump shot being the main problem, it's the other end of the court where Simmons is at his best. First and foremost, Simmons is an incredibly disruptive defender. With 1.6 steals per game last season, he's tied with a group of players for 5th most in the league. He also averaged 3.5 deflections per game, tying the said score with TJ McConnell and Jimmy Butler for 3rd most. Simmons is a massive presence on the perimeter who doesn't only use his size and length to harass ball handlers, but also wreak havoc as a free safety. Secondly, Simmons is a god when it comes to defending different positions. He was the 5th most versatile defender in the league this last season, which is a result of him spending an almost equal amount time guarding small forwards, power forwards, shooting guards, and point guards. To add to that, he was also the one who took the toughest matchup most of the time. His speed can especially be seen in matchups with shifty guards like Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell, and his size helps him defend the likes of Luka Doncic and LeBron James. So, to put it simply, there aren't many players who have the ability to be as versatile in defense as Simmons is. He's simply built for today's perimeter-oriented NBA game. Despite his career being young, he has already earned 2 All-Defensive First-Team selections. While he finished 2nd in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season, some consider him to be the best defender in the league because of just how versatile he is. And also because he's subscribed to the channel. So make sure you subscribe as well. The only question worth mentioning with Simmons on the defensive end is whether he can anchor a defense as a small ball 5. It's not something we've seen much from him yet, and the biggest reason for that is the fact that he's been teammates with one of the league's best centers. In case you haven't guessed yet, I'm talking about Embiid. The bulk of his blocks so far in his career have come away from the rim, and the numbers don't point towards him being much of a deterrent around the basket. But after all, we can't deny how talented Simmons is. He has some glaring weaknesses in his game, but he's a force in transition, one of the league's better passers, and the type of defender just about every team is craving for in today's NBA. With his rather versatile skill set on both ends, it probably wouldn't take much to convince a different team to take him on. The situation with him was unclear for quite a while, but it ended up sorting out as the Brooklyn Nets took him, and it's looking like he's ready to hit the hardwood to serve us some of his 7 feet wingspan goodness.